T. Anderson and Jo Rioux are putting their own twist on an old English folktale. And like folktales of old, it's much bloodier than you would imagine. Let's talk about it. Hey, the Daughters of Eyes. So I think it's pronounced eyes, even though it's Y S. Did some Googling, pretty sure. So apparently, eyes is old British um, like folktale. It's like a city that's supposed to be like sunken off the side of Britain somewhere, like kind of like Atlantis. Um, and so the book is about two daughters who are the daughters of the rulers of Eyes. The mother is like there's some kind of magic who's it's kind of been like protecting the city, keeping it prosperous, like it's a really rich city. And she passes away when the daughters are younger, and then they grow up, and then it's about like what do you do to keep the city prosperous and stuff like that. Um, so the oldest daughter, the one with the dark hair on top, so she's the loner type. She likes to go out into the moors and just hang out with the animals and just chill all day long. She has no interest really in like the going ons in the city. And the younger daughter with the red hair, she's more like into all the what's going on with the politics and the people and in the city. The older daughter though is the one who's going to end up, inheriting rule of the city from their father, who is a hot, hot mess, and they have a very complicated relationship with him, as you find out in the story. Um, the like I said, it's a real dark fairy tale. If you're like a dark fairy tale kind of person, then this will be a story that you would like old school, like Cinderella, the sisters getting their heels cut off, like that kind of thing. Like the original Hans Christian fairy tales, not the Disneyfied versions. Because, like I said in the intro, there's a lot of blood and murder, um, which I was not expecting because I didn't know anything about this folktale at all. So I wasn't expecting the blood and murder. It was an interesting revelation. Um, and the artwork in the book is I can't think of artists I can compare it to. It's very kind of unique looking. It kind of gives me maybe a bit of like what's his name? Tim Burton Nightmare Before Christmas kind of vibes. I guess Corpse Bride, that kind of, you know, more like, pale, darker like vibe, if that makes sense. So if that's your jam, kind of the dark fairy tale thing, dark stories, then dark fantasy, then you will probably like this book. So pick it up at the library, read it, and check out the spoiler review. So let's talk spoilers. So the book actually starts out with you meeting the mother and the father. The father's like king and he got hurt and some more, and he meets with the mother, and she's all like, "Hey, you should marry me. If you go and murder my husband for me, then then we can get married." Yeah, and you're like, "Wait, what?" First off, you just met this lady. Second, she wants you to kill somebody, and then you're like, "Yeah, and so it'll be a great idea to marry that lady." Like, what? That was my initial first thought. But you can see, like, she's like magic because literally he's stuck on a boat. I'm gonna show you this way. He's stuck on a boat like in the middle of the sea, and she comes up on her horse in the middle of the sea and is like, "Hey, I hear you're the king of this place. Like, we should get married." So First off, I mean, you run in and you know there's a fantasy element on there, and also what the heck, their mother is messed up. Of course, you find out later their father also messed up for different reasons. But yeah, um, and then the husband is like the Wizard Duke of Wined, but they never explain why she wants him dead or anything like that. She's just like, hey, murder this dude and then we can run off together. And so he does. There goes his head, right? So then the book hops in time. The the mother's dead. The dad's old. The daughters are kids. And um, the oldest daughter, his name is Rozenn with the dark hair. So she thinks the mom died because like she used too much magic at their father's request, like building up the city, and um, they have like a monster in the sea that kind of like keeps other ships and stuff from coming to their city and trying to attack them or attack them or anything. So you get the idea that the mom was using her magic to protect the city, right? And then they show boom boom monster in the sea right there, which is really cool looking actually. So then the two girls, they just kind of show them growing up separately. You can see Rosen likes to go off, into the cuts in the moors and just hang out with the animals. She can kind of like communicate with animals, maybe, sorta, ish. And then the other daughter starts getting into um, uh, the court life. Although they both have kind of like inherited some like magic-y ability from their mom. Like there's a point where they find this thing, this little ball thing that was their mother's. That their mother told them not to touch, but then they find out, they can do magical things with it. In this case, crack that. And then, like I said, Rosen, she can talk to animals, sorta, I guess. Um, and like I said, their dad's a hot mess because it's like I'm not gonna show this picture, but it's like the next day after their mom died, they find their dad's like hooking up with some ladies, like, and and I mean, if we're talking full spoilers, later on you realize like the daughter, the younger daughter, whose name is Dahut, the redhead daughter. Like she's doing all kind of shady magical things to keep the city, prosperous. The dad knows about it. He's perfectly fine. Like he's like, "Yep, go for it." Like so, that gives you an idea. Like back at the beginning, you're like, "Why would this dude marry this completely random magic lady who's like shows up and like, hey, murder some people for me?" It's because he's power hungry and greedy. Like he just wants his city to be rich and prosperous and for him to have everything. And whatever that takes, he's fine with it. You you learn a little bit later about the dad. At the same time, he's like old and kind of going in and out of it, like um, you know. So he'll say that kind of stuff where kind of you got to do what you got to do when you find out your daughter's like murdering people to keep your city going. But then he'll kind of forget too. I guess it's Alzheimer's type of thing going on. But the two of them grow up very, like you said, very different. The Hut gets all into the court life, and Rosen's all about hanging uh, out in the country with animals and people and stuff. And the Hut's not very happy that Rosen's going to be the one who's going to inherit the throne, really, because she doesn't do anything when it comes to the court stuff, right? But since she's oldest, she's going to inherit. Rosen's the one doing all the, she does the fancy magic stuff to help, impress all the visitors. And then you later on find out She's not just doing fancy magic stuff. She is seducing and then magically beheading dudes and feeding their head. And this is just a cool like panel. Look at that. Look at that staircase. Feeding their heads as like a sacrifice to the sea in order to have magic and keep the sea at bay and pacified to won't turn over the city, right? And this is like the craziest thing because then the guard takes their bodies and sticks them in the sea. So if you see what I mean about, you know, a little dark old school fairy tale. And then Rozenn, who's the older daughter, she has no idea about any of this because of course she's just chilling out in the forest with the birds, right? She meets a dude she likes, and she's all like, "Oh, nice, nice forest dude," you know. And she's more on the like the innocent side of it. Like Dahut tells her later on, there's a thing like you don't know what really needs to be done and what I have to do to keep this city, prosperous. And then, and on the other end of it, Rosenn's just like, you know, just like it should just be, like a more calm, nice place. None of this, extravagance. You know, she's gonna be different than her father, kind of thing. She even meets. There's a point. Let me see if I can find it to show where she meets like a guy in the woods. What is his name? Oh, nope, can't find it. She meets a he's like a monk in the woods, and he has like one fish. He has like a magical fish that feeds him. So he fishes the magical fish out of the sea. He eats it, but not the whole thing. And if he doesn't eat the whole thing, then the next day it grows back. And he's telling her like, um, and she's like, "How can you do that to the fish? Every day he's your friend, kind of thing. How can you kill him every day, like over and over again?" And she was saying, and he tells her, like sacrifices always have to be made, kind of thing, just for things to be, I guess. There's always something is always going to be sacrificed in order for something else to be like prosperous. I guess is the idea. So in order for him to live and eat, something has to be sacrificed. And she's like, "No, I don't think it has to be that way." And that's kind of like their, because she thinks, like their city, oh, they just happen to be, their city just happens to be like protected and rich and all this other stuff. And like I said, the sister's doing a whole lot of sacrificing, literally, of people in order to keep the city going. And she has no idea. She's like living in complete ignorance and just thinks, eh, it's, everything's just nice and fine and dandy. I guess she meets the guy. She thinks the guy's all nice, and the sister decides she's gonna help her out. I guess show her the true face of people by like seducing the guy, and she's gonna use him for a sacrifice. But then she decides not to, and but then the sister still sees them together. She gets mad. She's like, and the guy later on tries to cozy back up to her, like, "Hey, I don't know what I was thinking," and she's like, "I don't think so." Right? Um, you see at the end, it's like she's kind of, she kind of breaks her faith, I guess, in a way, and the good, like, just kind of general goodness, faithfulness of people. And then also you have the other side of it is the sister. I guess the sister that is supposed to sacrifice somebody every day. And since she let this guy go, trying to do like a nice thing, then I guess technically it would be like whoever she got the whoever has the key to the city, the key that keeps the sea away, that she's sacrificing, you know, for towards the sea gods. He shows up and he's like, "Well, you broke our promise, so I'm gonna need that key back." And she's like, "No way, am I getting that key back?" So they're having a like big duke it out fight. Rosen even shows up to help her, and because he's trying to open like the sea door and let the sea in, and then it's it's a little wild, crazy town because they break in and it's like he's not even a person. He's like a ceramic person. He said he is the gate, right? That lets the sea in. So he lets the sea in and it drowns, the whole town, right? And specifically he says the wicked of Why will drown in their own sin, and the stains of Why will be washed from the earth, right? So the sea monster comes in. They're all trying to escape. The dad like pushes in his moment of more clarity of, like I said, he's not a nice person. So when he's having a more clear moment, he calls the hut a demon girl and pushes her off of the thing, and she's all like, "I only did what you wanted me to do. I only, I was only what you wanted me to be." Pretty much, like she's been doing all this stuff in order to keep the city prosperous, which is what her dad wanted, right? But she gets pushed out and eaten by the sea monster, right? And then at the end, they all go off. The dad gets old and dies, and eventually Rosen becomes the queen. And sh- she's not, well, they're on land now. Well, they're not in Why. She's just queen of kind of the rest of the area. So she's a different queen, not the kind of queen you see from like the way she acts. She's not the person that she was before. Um, and then she's kind of just lamenting, that her sister's gone. And this part I didn't get, but it looks awesome. Awesome. That the sister is like at the bottom of the sea. So in a way, she kind of becomes a sea creature. If that makes sense. Yeah. And then they kind of tell the story of the a little bit of the folktale about. I guess the folktale is that you can hear, crying from the sea. Sometimes fishermen hear those bells of they hear the bells of the sunken steeple ringing in the deep rock of the tide, or the singing of a maiden beneath the waves. It's supposed to be like that. You can hear her singing under the sea. So it's like when it all kind of shook out, even though Rosen professed that she would do things differently, she was somewhere in between where her sister and her father were, and then what her ideal was. Even before, I mean, like after her sister betrayed her, but before then, like she was, she was ready and willing to like defend their city. And it sounds weird to say their city because I don't think it's like you're literally talking about the physical city. It's more like in the metaphor of it, their way of life. Because she goes after the key the key guy too, with a big old spear to try to stop him from opening the gate, right? So even though she's professed the whole time that she doesn't like the city and the way it is, she still comes and tries to keep it from being destroyed. She still comes and tries to preserve it. So it'd be like preserving a way of life that you think that you've professed that you don't like, you know, that's bad, but she's benefiting from it. So in the end, she still kind of wants to protect it. The sister, of course, is given like her whole life to preserving, like she's doing all kind of dark magic, killing people, sacrificing them to the sea, doing all this stuff. Um, she pretty much became like her her mother and her father. And earlier on, when they find out how the father really he was with the mother because it benefited. He could make a rich city with her, if that makes it sense because of her magic. So, and they find out, like, like I said, like 2 seconds after the dad's not, he's about himself and about keeping the city rich and stuff like that for himself. And she, as a young person, swore that she's gonna hate him forever. And then, of course, then when by the time she's older, she's 100% in league with him and his ideas about how they need to do whatever, including killing people to keep the city, rich. So it's a dark turn for all the characters, I guess. Nobody comes out clean at the end, and but it was a very interesting read. I got to learn about a British folktale I know nothing about, and then it does say on the back, it's for every enchantment there is a price. In this case, the literal price was uh, Dahut's, I guess, life and soul. Well, life, I guess, Dahut's life and Rozenn's soul, in a way. And, yeah, they do give you two also in the back if you're interested in reading, like, a more classical version of the folktale. They give you some references of where you can read the original version of the folktale. But yeah, so that is The Daughters of Ice. It was a fun read. I was if you read it, if you're not in the spoiler section and the review section, then it's kind of you're reading it and since I don't know the story, you're like, I have no idea where this is going. So I was very surprised by everything. I'm like, what? She's murdering people and feeding them to the sea. What? That boyfriend guy turned out to be shady. What? It's a lot of what. And I would say there's one or two things I didn't quite get, but maybe because I was like, I didn't quite get like the key guy, him being just like an empty shell with, well, now that I'm saying it out loud, I guess he's just like an empty shell with like bad intentions inside. Which I guess that was the key. I mean, she got the key. The key allowed her to like supposedly control the sea creatures, and the sea keeps it defending their city, and keeps the sea out of the city. So I guess actually, being an empty shell with bad intentions inside, that was the whole point of her magic and the key and controlling the sea. They were using it for bad intentions. So now they say it out loud. I do get the metaphor. Okay, yeah. And then the daughter, the older daughter Rozenn, learning. Oh, I found it. Learning her lesson about the fish, right? That she's not getting all this, all these riches and good life without something being sacrificed. Like something has been sacrificed for her to be living the way she's living, even though she's totally oblivious to it. Yeah, and I mean, which in modern, I guess, in our like modern times or modern, what you can equate to like our modern times and our modern, like say, economic system, where in order for us to live this rich, our clothes are being made cheaper for some place overseas. We have sometimes low paid labor in certain areas like people are underpaid, stuff like that. There are sacrifices being made by other people or by ourselves to that benefit you know, other people who are living better than us, or for us, people who are living worse than us, for us to be where we are. So in this kind of, you know, in the kind of system that we live in. So it has a nice equivalent, although I was like, seeing as how it's such an old folk tale, well, no, I guess you can connect it too to like if it was made. I'm bad with my history and my dates, so I'm gonna assume during like feudal times, which would be an extreme direct like correlation to that. Definitely, the lives of like peasants and things, and their freedom and their general like working lot and livelihood and education and opportunities were being sacrificed, for the good of the lords and ladies and king and stuff like that. So it still makes it still correlates even then, assuming that was a time period. Once again, bad with dates. But yeah, so that's the Daughters of Wise. I'm gonna stop talking now, and I'll see you next month. I'm not sure what I'm gonna read, which probably means I'm gonna pick another random one, unless I get a suggestion. I guess you can suggest one if you want to leave a comment for me to read, and then check out the read alike section if you're interested in this or some other fun things for you to read. See you next time. This has been Candace for the Stockton San Joaquin County Library. Hope you have fun.